Heyo, it's me, I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and once again, I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, for the Super Nintendo, or Super Famicom for those of you who lived in Japan, and for the Game Boy Advance. So, last time we managed to explore around on the forms of the Kakuiko village, able to actually find certain clues for how on earth we able to actually get that particular legendary Master Sword, but it turns out that we actually found out that we need to find all three of those pendants of, well, let's just say the Pendant of Power, and Wisdom, and Courage. So today, for this video, is the fact that we're going to be getting things started with the forms of the very first palace in the game, which appears to be known as the East Palace. So as a result though, that the first dungeon is pretty simple and easy, or to be more specifically, the first palace in the game is actually super duper quick and also very simple and self-explanatory. Although it's all later on though, the more you've progressed, then it'll get a bit more difficult. Especially noticeable towards the end, so, but we're not gonna get ahead of ourselves at this point right now, because, well, we just got to be sure that we need to, well, survive in this particular palace, while trying to dodge a lot of those rolling balls, as you can see on screen, that, luckily there are some, little safe areas that you can able to actually just to protect yourself, rather than just getting hit by a lot of the forms of those balls, so yeah, something's worth noting for. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and get that chest, which actually contains even more rupees, and also if we check in there, then obviously more rupees to get. So, I think, unlike any forms of how it does it on the 3D Zelda games, that basically though, that you need to able to actually upgrade your wallet bag. Whilst in here though, that you can able to actually get the insane amount of those rupees as far as you're able to progress for the game. So, something's worth noting for. So, and there's going to be a couple of switches that we can able to activate for certain doors that we can able to entering into. So just in case we can able to actually just to double check on other rooms throughout the whole thing. So, and here's some stealthos here, which, I will have to be honest for this point right there, that, sometimes stealthos in this game can be a bit difficult, and especially a pain at times to kill. Most notably because every time you swipe the sword, and basically though, is the fact that, the stealthos were able to jump away from you quite a few times. So, either way though, it might not bother me as much though, but it's something worth noting for. And of course we got a map, which will be come in handy, especially noticeable that, again, if you got lost, then the map was actually, there for you. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, that just like in Zelda 1, basically though, that map will actually help you out throughout the majority of the game. So, however though, unlike any forms of how it does it on Zelda 1, thank God, no, useless map visual identity, because as far as I'm aware, the problem I have with Zelda 1 sometimes, that is the fact that, you know what I'm talking about, the one that started it all on the NES, or Famicom disk system in Japan. So basically though, because in the original Zelda game, basically though, the map itself is totally worthless, because that particular grey box thing is the map of Hyrule itself. Whilst thankfully in The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past, or some people call it Zelda 3, basically though is the fact that the map is a lot more detailed this time around, and plus, it actually shows you what the actual Hyrule itself looks like, which I appreciate about that, because it's especially true about the fact that most people seem able to really enjoy A Link to the Past more than the forms of how it does it on the original game, that's for sure. Well, mind you, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed Zelda 1 back then, but it's just the fact that it can be feels a bit archaic at times, so that's probably just me. And right off the bat though, we got surrounded by those stealthos right here, that we have to able to kill them in order to progress, so yeah, there might be some rooms that you're gonna have to able to kill all kinds of enemies with your sword, or something else for that matter though, so thankfully though, we can just simply corner them to that particular corner, so anyways, let's pick up a pot, and it doesn't reveal anything inside it, so oh well, no big deal. But regardless of such, we're able to introduce into ourselves the compass. Now, technically speaking, similar to the forms of how it does it on Zelda 1, basically though, if you manage to able to see the compass, basically it shows you every single treasures in each and every single room. So that way you can able to actually find certain stuff that you actually missed throughout the majority of the actual palace or dungeons in general. So either way though, you probably get the idea about that point. And by the way, something's worth mentioning, there are a few times that someone's actually talking to you telepathically. They're able to actually just to give you a hint on that particular part right there. But I don't think I can able to actually use this all the time though, because I've already experienced the game 3 times already, and I can never get bored of it. Especially notable about the fact that I've completed this on the Wii Virtual Console version, and also the Game Boy Advance port, and exponentially I'm able to actually play this on my own time on the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, and the Let's Play is obviously going to be on the Wii U eShop version. So, and by the way, you can also use those parts to able to actually destroy those kinds of enemies like these ones here, that you know with the forms of how the fact that if the actual one of those enemies comes to life, or specifically if they start to woke up, basically though, they are, I think there's actually 2 different ways you can able to deal with these guys. Although, mind you though, that the green variant wasn't all that bad, but until later on throughout the particular palace, basically though is the fact that we'll come across into another variant, which hopefully we'll come across into that eventually though. So anywho though. Ah, jeez, I keep on getting hit. So, anywho though, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is the fact that today's day is of course the 31st of January today, in this case in 2022 today, so it looks like that we're on to the last day of January today. So as a result though, can't wait to see how February is going to turn out, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, we're still hoping about the fact that the Nintendo Direct will be up until next month, like most any other years. So as a result though, we'll just have to wait and see what happens during time. And second of all is the fact that I've actually forgot to mention about something, and that is the fact that, relatively speaking, is that I've recently managed to able to pick up not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 games I've recently managed to got from the likes of 1 from CEX, which I did manage to get, and also 5 of them from eBay. So as a result though, and those items are entirely related to not only Sonic the Hedgehog, but also Dragon Ball Z, because obviously I'm still a big fan of the anime of Dragon Ball Z. So as a result though, that's, I'll explain more details about that later, as soon as we're able to actually just to, you know, deal with the stealth foe right there, and also deal with even more enemies and stuff like that, including buddy forms of this particular enemy right there, that you can simply just defeat them by using one of those pots. And then after you're done with them though, I believe there was actually a switch in here, which actually reveals the big key, which not only you can able to actually open up as many of those doors as you possibly could, but also we need to use the big key to open up the big chest, which sometimes you can either be, well, certain items that we might as well able to encounter with, so. But we'll just see as soon as we're able to actually continue proceeding for this particular palace, so. Let's just shove that block here, and somehow we ended up back in here. But that's okay, because the actual big chest is not that far from here, I don't think. But first of all, let me take care of those enemies first before they won't get in my way. So either way though, including some stealth foes as well. So let's open up this chest, and we got ourselves the bow. And you can now shoot arrows until you run out. So basically though, we now actually access to bow and arrow. So basically, similar to the forms of how it does it on the forms of Zelda 1, basically though is the fact that you can able to actually use the bow and arrow on certain situations if you come across certain enemy encounters. Like, for example, those green, like, statue-like enemies. Although before we get into that though, there was actually a secrecy down there. Like, if you fell into this little hole over there, basically, we're able to actually get into the forms of the room that contains not 1, but 2 fairies. But of course, I need to catch them until when I keep them in the bottle, because every time you die, basically though, you revive back up. So, at least that's a godsend, because unlike in Zelda 1, that basically though is the fact that there's no magic bottles to be found on the original game. But at least thankfully though, it's much more convenient last time, or convenient this time around, so... Anyway though, so let's move up to the next floor, as far as I'm usually concerned with, and of course we need to light this room up, because obviously it's quite dark in here. And of course we need to get those rubies, and since that we can now able to deal with these guys within a bow and arrow by simply able to actually aim at its eyes, so because of that though, that deals the amount of damage, so... But sometimes you have to be very cautious and be careful, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, if you're not predictable enough, then basically there's the fact that you will get hit a lot, so... Something's worth noting for. So anyway, yeah, let's talk about these items I did recently got for about the past few days. And those are, let's just say, let's start with the forms of the Sonic the Hedgehog games first. First of all I've got is the last Game Boy Advance game, not counting the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis for the Game Boy Advance, because that game sucks. And the last Game Boy Advance Sonic game I've recently got, and that is Sonic Pinball Party. Because after all, that I've already got Super Mario Ball from the likes of last year, but I figured that in 2022 that I've managed to finally got a Pinball Sonic game from the likes of the Game Boy Advance called Sonic Pinball Party. And I played it for a bit, and it's actually not too bad, despite the fact that I'm usually suck at the pinball games in general, and as a result though, that I've got to the point where I think, during the story mode anyway, that I've recently managed to completed the first stage, that you have to get a certain amount of points in order to progress. So I did manage to complete that, but I've stuck on the second stage, where you have to compete against with, well, not so much compete against with the evil version of Tails, but ultimately speaking, you have to get a certain amount of points within a time limit, so yeah, that might be something worth knowing for, so as you can see, we stumbled across another variant of the exact same enemies, so except the fact that it deals twice the amount of damage, so as you can probably see. So, oh, sweet, even more rubies I've still managed to consider getting. Let's grab those quickly, and of course we have to deal with these guys now, so... Oh god, okay. That was close, but at least we can to just deal with them as soon as we're able to kill them off, and thankfully there's some restocks of arrows that we can to actually use until we decide to tackle through the very first boss in the game. So, either way though, before we get into that though, let's double check on the map. Yeah, I think this is where we come across into ourselves the very first boss in the game, so... And speaking of which, there it is, which appears to be, his name was Almost Night. So, basically, in order to deal the damage on the, not one, but 6 of these guys, basically though is the fact that we need to use the bow and arrow in order to deal the damage, and that's essentially what we have to do here. Until when it gets to the point until when you got to this last Almost Night, basically though, eventually one of them will turn red, and then instead of able to actually just jump around all over the place like the other guys, instead he'll able to try to squish you to death. So, like this for instance right here. So, but otherwise, it's a very simple and easy boss fight if you manage to get the actual good aiming shot while trying to use the bow and arrow like so. So there we go. In addition to to get ourselves our next heart container, we also got the first pendant of the, wow, the legendary Master Sword. So because of that, we've now got the Pendant of Courage. So only 2 pendants to go. You won the Pendant of Courage. Take it to Saharasula. The 2 pendants remain. So... yeah, I apologize for that particular text reading error, but that's mainly because of the fact that, for some reason or another, I just simply got distracted by the forms of another kind of noises in the background. Like, for instance, that there was an aeroplane just managed to flew by, which it's kind of annoying, honestly, but regardless of everything else, though, it's just the fact that it knows what it is, so... Oh, you got the Pendant of Courage. Now, I will tell you more of the legend 3 or 4 generations ago, an order of knights protected the loyalty of the Hyria. These knights of Hyrule were also guardians of the Pendant of Courage. Unfortunately, most of them were destroyed in the Great War against evil that took place when the 7 wise men created their seal among the descendants of the Knights of Hyrule. A hero must appear. I see, Pac-Man. I believe you. You should get the remaining pendants and carry this with you. This is a treasure passed down by the familiar of the wise men. I want you to have it. So there we go, we got ourselves the Pegasus boots, or should I say Pegasus shoes in this game. So basically though, you can able to actually just to do a devastating dash attack. So, and by doing this is by pressing the A button. A helpful item is hidden in a cave in the east side of the Lake Hyria. Get it? Alright, so we're able to find that until whenever we're able to continue exploring. So so now that the actual the next pendant is gonna be on the bottom left corner, so we're gonna have to make our way from there. But before we do that, actually though, is the fact that we need to take care of the forms of some secrets first before we're able to get on with the forms of the next pendant we can get. So hopefully that should be the case here. So anyway though, so let's just go ahead and dish out as many of those enemies as I could before we do anything. So anyway though, so yeah, I'm very glad that I've now finally got Sonic Pinball Party for the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, that's that. And the second game I've got in terms of the Sonic games on my collection, and that's what appears to be the PlayStation 2 version of the original Sonic Riders. Why? Because I feel like that ever since I've technically already completed the GameCube version of the game, mind you that the only time exception is getting a Chaos Emerald, which is Super Sonic, but in order to do that, I have to get every single gold ranks in each and every single missions from the likes of, well, you know what I mean, Storms missions, Waves missions, and Jets missions. So, but some of them are easy, but some of them are ridiculously hard. So, yeah, that's why I attempt to skip that. And also, I haven't unlocked the other two E10,000 robots yet. So, I think you have to play with the game for a certain amount of time, I think. So, yeah, I was wondering about that. And, yeah, anywho though. And, yeah, and if I played the PS2 version of Sonic Riders, it was alright. I mean, I still kind of prefer the GameCube version a bit more, mainly because, well, I was more into the forms of, oh, there's a secret down there. Oh, no. Ah, first death. I just easily got cornered by those stupid soldiers. But thankfully we've got the fairy from the likes of the first palace, so that way we're able to revive ourselves. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting to see how the fact that with this first death right here, so, whoops. But, luckily though, that we might able to actually find something that's usually down here. And that's what appears to be, of course, more fairies that we can get. So, yeah, we'll just snack one and then just put in the actual bottle. And yeah, I do apologize with my microphone from about a few seconds ago, that for some reason my microphone just keeps on going like, kind of has like an annoying sound every time when I speak and stuff like that, which I will fix that at some point, maybe during at some point on Wednesday, until on the 2nd of February, and possibly the 4th of February in the future though, because, well, also, I would like to mention about something as well, that for this coming Friday, that the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics is about to start. So, yeah, that should be exciting, especially noticeable that it's been 4 years ago since the last Winter Olympics, which takes place in South Korea. So I'm very excited to see what's going to be brings us to the table. So, anyway though, and another game I did manage to pick up is the PlayStation 2 version, also from the likes of Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Why? Because why not? and also similar to the original Sonic Riders game, I've almost 100% everything on that game on the Wii version, except the fact that with the Chaos Emeralds, which honestly, Supersonic in Zero Gravity is not worth it, because it's more likely the underpowered version of Supersonic as in a playable character from the likes of the original Sonic Riders. So, because, you know, every time you use the gravity and stuff like that, or the gravity mechanic, basically though, it drains rings a lot. So, yeah, I don't see the point of able to actually get Supersonic in Zero Gravity after all. So, anyway though, so that's that. And as far as the Dragon Ball Z games, as far as I'm concerned, oh, and by the way, before I mention more about that, let's head back over to that, you know what the forms of that library thing that we've actually did already technically explore at first? Well, basically though, we need to now make our way to the library, because you remember that particular book that we've actually saw from earlier ago? Well, that's what the Pegasus Boots comes in, and basically you just have to dash forward and knock the book off the shelf, and there we go. So that way we get ourselves the Book of Mandor, so, or Muddor as far as I like to call it. So, yeah, that book right there is super important, especially noticeable for the sake of progressioning, so yeah, something to keep that in mind. So, anyway, as far as the other things I would discuss, and that is the fact that in terms of those Dragon Ball Z games I've recently got, those are Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai and Shin Budokai 2, both on the PlayStation Portable, and alongside with those, I also finally managed to go myself Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team for the PSP. And I was like, oh man, those three items combined is worth it. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that with Shin Budokai 1 and 2, plays exactly like Budokai 3, and a little bit on Infinite World. Well, despite the fact that those two games did manage to came out after Budokai 3, and before Infinite World, aka Budokai 4, as I like to call it. And, yeah, as a result, though, it's quite worth it. And same applies to Tenkaichi Tag Team, which plays out kind of like, you know, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3 on, PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii, well, at least for both games anyway, for Tenkaichi 2 and 3. So, as a result, though, yeah, I enjoyed those games a lot. So, yeah, I suppose that's pretty much as far as I can say about this, honestly. Although, there's one thing I totally forgot to mention about, and same applies to the fact that I'm pretty sure Maxi has forgotten to mention about this either, and, also applies to the forms of, well, Raid the Flying Squirrel hasn't mentioned about this either. And heck, even with the forms of, well, I should say that Sonic hasn't mentioned about that either from the Sonic Colors Ultimate Let's Play. That, recently, that Banjo-Kazooie game for the Nintendo 64 just recently came out recently on the Switch Online Membership Service. And, pretty cool about the fact that you can now able to experience that game on the go now, but the only drawback with that is the fact that, of course, the ridiculous price tag for the expansion pack, and it's a bit too much for my liking. So, yeah, I have no idea why they still managed able to lock certain N64 stuff in the course of, well, you know what I mean. So, and of course I run out of bow and arrows, so I'm just gonna have to, no matter what though, I'm just gonna have to use the bombs in order to able to deal with these guys. I did not mean to drop it here. So, but let's just hope that most players will never actually come across into certain issues for the sake of Banjo-Kazooie on the N64 on the Switch itself. So, well, at least assuming that this is all entirely emulated and stuff. And by the way, if you go in here, take some rubies, but don't tell anyone, I'll give them to you. Keep this between us. So that way we'll get even more rubies. So as a result though, that way we're able to, well, pretty much almost maxed out our rubies count. So I think we've almost at 999 in terms of those ruby counts. So, and also we got ourselves the arrows back, and also some of the bombs. So, yeah, it feels like that we actually gonna be rich by then, for the sake of the forms of trying to able to spend on certain rubies on several other things. So, Feels like we're getting to the pretty cool way to start things off for the Let's Play so far. But, oh, those crows. I hate these crows so much. And by the way, with those little choo-choos right there, basically though, if you dare try to able to attack them with your sword, basically it will damage you. So it's best advised to able to use the bow and arrow in order to able to deal the damage on these guys. So that's something worth noting for trying to mentioning about that. So anyways, let's just continue on for this point right here, and then basically though we'll just, oh jeez, I keep on getting hit. But hopefully we'll try to find a safe spot until whenever we're able to, not just by able to actually just trying to heal ourselves for certain encounters, but also, you probably get the idea, so. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and equip the bomb to able to explode this little wall, and that way we're able to see what's, oh, there's some more fairies there, so we can able to refuel our health and stuff. And from that chest over there, that will be kind of important, especially noticeable if you really want to get certain progression on certain powers until later on though. Yeah, you probably get the idea what I was trying to say. Alright, so we'll just place the bomb here, and sure enough, we're able to progress. And that way, we can able to just dash forward and get that chest, and soon enough, we're able to get the ice rod. And basically though, that it'll just able to actually cause the actual ice. So, but every time you use that rod though, as you can tell from that description, it actually drains the magic meter. So keep an eye on that. Okay then, so I think suffice to say is the fact that we'll pretty much have to say we'll get the endings off here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. That is the fact that specifically, we might as well get started with the second powers in the game and get the second pendant. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Later, fellas.